Okay, calling to order the Ukiah Valley Sanitation District special meeting on Tuesday, October 23rd, 2018 at 6 p.m. at the Sanitation District office. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mark, would you like to do the roll call?
Be glad to. Chair McNeilin,
Present.
Vice Chair Reed,
Here.
Director Bockham,
Here.
Director Whip,
Here.
Director Marshall.
Here.
Okay, all present.
Thank you. Item number 2 is public expression. Does anyone from the gallery wish to comment on anything that's not on the agenda? And the one person in our gallery says no. Okay, thank you. Item number 3, discussion and possible action regarding bond refinancing. And Mr. District Manager, the floor is yours.
Sure.
And Attorney.
Yes, thank you. And Donald is here too, I think, to provide some more information in that regard. But basically what you have in front of you are 2 fee arrangements, one with Urban Futures and the other one with ORIC. They have provided work for the district during the lawsuit as it related issues to the bond. But now we're in the bond refinancing phase of the project. And that requires a different fee arrangement. And this fee arrangements for both parties are contingent on a successful outcome to the bonds. And they're a fixed fee. And they're $45,000 for Urban Futures and $45,000 for ORIC. Payable only if there's a successful outcome on the refinancing of the bonds.
Where are we now, Mark, on the savings that the bond will accrue if we were at whatever today's rate plus 25 basis points? Maybe.
So I can't give you an exact number because this thing is fluid and it's moving all over the case, right? So I spoke with Wing C at Urban Futures last night, and based on some October 9th calculations, it was about $6.5 million. Okay.
Yeah.
Now,
There's some return there.
There's some return. And there's a lot of assumptions embedded in all of this. You know, this is going to be a very complicated process. So let me just a little bit manage the expectations. We have a short window of time because when these bonds were set and originally sold, there was 2 windows of opportunity to sell on March 1 and October 1st, and you have 90 days to get out there. So you don't have time just to do it as things work out. The market, as we know, has been pretty volatile, and interest rates are going up. But to the savings, there could be a number of things that impact our interest rate. One of them is that the district itself wants to separate and carry its own debt. We don't have really a credit history, if you will, or a history of doing that. So no one knows for certainty what impact that will have in the marketplace in terms of what rates we pay. I think both Urban Futures is really our advisors on this. I don't think they would hope that it's not going to have a big impact. But until we get deeper into this and they have some investors, there's really no way to really know. And these rates that I just quoted you, that are the figure rate was based on the quotes on the 9th. This could close in January.
Yeah.
Who knows what.
Well, that's why I figured we had 25 basis points.
But when we look back over the last few months at different various points in time, it's been around the $6.5 million, $6 million. But remember, that's basically without going out and really testing the market yet.
So that's over the life of the loan, and that's the savings to the district.
That is the savings to the district over the life of the refinance, which would be January 2019 until when the bonds mature in 30.
I thought it was going to be March 1st because we
March
probably
1st.
missed the October.
The deal would be,
We missed October.
you would hope to have the deal closed in January. you have to give notice. So whatever that effective date would be.
When did we decide to refinance separately? I don't really recall that.
That's the track that the municipal advisor had suggested in order to do a couple things. One, allow the district to become independent if it chooses to on either an operational or billing and collection, or if it chooses to refinance its own portion of the bonds in the future. So for example, if the city wanted to extend the term of the bonds beyond the current 2036 ultimate call deadline, which it now stands as, or wanted to borrow more money, or the district wanted to borrow more money or extend the deadline itself, it can do that independently of the city, and the city could do that independently of the district.
The refinance we're talking about right now is in conjunction with the city still, correct?
Right, but what would happen conceptually is you'd have two different tracks, or I think they call them series, right, of bonds.
Correct.
And so the district would have its own series, and the city would have its own series of bonds that would be comprised of all of the current bonds, right? So the district would have its portion, the city would have its portion. It would be all sold as part of a package, is the way I understand it at least. But the obligations of each party would be separate in that the district would have a definitive portion of the bonds to pay, and so too would the city.
I thought we didn't have any credit history, so we wouldn't be able to ever borrow X more money or take out separate.
We've had bonds before to put in sewer lines.
Okay.
So we do have credit history.
But at
and
this amount, I mean.
it's just based on revenue.
Well, so one of the reasons that the district hired the CPA firm was to shore up the financials for purposes of, and Mark, you might be able to clarify this better, but for purposes of reporting to allow you to get the financing for these bonds. So as I understand it, that will be sufficient from the municipal advisor standpoint to be able to go out and sell the debt.
Right.
And this was part of the participation agreement. This has been going back for quite some time, hasn't it? The discussion of this refinancing the bond separately.
I don't know if it goes back to the participation agreement, because that's the amendment 2 is what triggered the initial bonds. But the refinancing of it certainly goes back at least a couple of years.
Okay.
I think Director Whitefield.
Well, I was gonna ask Sean where the city is on there. Are you guys all ready to go?
You know, I haven't been working on it. It's something Dan's been doing, but I saw email traffic from, what's his name? The guy that's done our bond stuff in the past. I know they're ramping up to do it, yeah.
Good.
Cameron Weiss.
No, it's a Scriven, I can tell you.
Mark,
He's
is this one of those, I know there are certain things that get paid for with the bond proceeds, like
Eric's
bond
certain.
attorney, or is this one of those things or no?
I believe, yes, this will come out of the proceeds of the bonds.
Definitely Urban Futures says that. One thing we need to clarify with ORC is that you at least have the option to pay those fees out of the proceeds as well.
You do.
Okay.
But if both, again, is contingent on a successful outcome.
Meaning they don't get paid if we
If we can't do the deal.
refund. And if we were doing it in conjunction with the city together, would we incur this much cost, or would it be less expensive to do like the old-fashioned way where you're just working together with one set of
My take on it is that my understanding is it would be a lot more, because the way ORC explained this to us is that the city's bond attorneys are going to take a stab at drafting some of the workup documents. ORC will be advising the district
on those documents, working with the city's side to further the district's best interest for purposes of the refinancing. So one example of that might be what we saw before. There was an amended financing agreement, if you'll recall, back in January, I believe. And that raised some issues, and the district decided to obtain its own bond counsel for that. So what we're doing here is similar in that bond counsel, or will be reviewing the amended financing papers.
That the city puts together.
Right.
So we don't have to generate them.
No, we're gonna, in essence, edit and review, which would be a lot less expensive, you would assume.
And this agreement specifically says that.
So are we assuming we have more debt service than the city? Are they expecting to save 6.5 million, or it depends on how much of bonds they sell? Is it a different number, or we have more debt?
Being
The city. Are our bonds, our chunk of the total, is it 65, 55?
50. It's blended, it's 52.
52
yeah,
according to the
50
new participation group. So we're just a tad higher.
Right, our savings would be a little, so I haven't looked at the city side of it, but you would assume, based on just the math of it, that if they're, have less,
48%.
Right.
And
they have less to refinance,
we're
there'll
gonna
be
be
less
locked
savings,
in
but
with
it's
the
still gonna be
same
significant.
interest rate, because we're kind of doing this together, so we're gonna all be locked in with the same.
Maybe. They don't know that yet. It depends on how it flushes out with the financing, whether there's going to be different rating for the city and the district, which could affect the rates. As Mark said, our municipal advisor is saying that they don't anticipate there's going to be much, if any, change or difference.
Excuse me, difference. And there's also, I'm not sure what the city's doing, but if one party wanted to extend the maturity date, that may or may not have some impact on this. Go to 36. It certainly would have an impact on cost and savings, as well as cash flow. Longer amortization, less cash out, but you're going to pay more in interest, sort of like your home mortgage, right? That's sort of the example. So both parties are going to be dealing with a number of similar issues, but there's some differences, and those differences may produce some differences in interest rates or savings. But I think both parties think they're going to, if they can accomplish this, will realize substantial savings, right? So that's one driver, and I think the district has a couple business decisions, and Don will discuss those. If the district wants to do its billing and collections, and wants to do some operation and maintenance on its own, separating these out is the pathway to do that in some form.
Director Marshall?
So bond rating is really important, right? So is there either one or the other of this that you think is more successful in getting that established?
They're working in conjunction. I mean,
Okay.
Org provides the legal counsel. Urban Futures is really who's going to be working. Well, they both will be with underwriters and that, but it's a team effort. You can't have one without the other.
Okay.
And Donald and his firm will also be looking at this language as well to make sure that the district's interested.
Good.
Yeah. There will be a lot of eyes on this, and there will be a lot of decision points during this process, and things are they're gonna move quickly. I mean, everybody has to be working on this now to make it go.
Mm-hmm.
And I think just to clarify another point, CLA, who's our accounting firm, they're working on the financials now with anticipation of having those numbers in early to mid-November, so that they can get those to Urban Futures and everybody, so they can get out there and start putting the financial projections together in the package, so that they can start this whole process.
And you said that paying the $90,000 can be done over a period of.
No, it'll come out of the proceeds. When they raise the bonds, there will be some extra money, and they can pay out of that.
It's like commission.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right. Yeah. You know.
And what is our total debt service for our portion of the bonds? What's the total amount?
It's roughly $46 million at this point.
That's a lot of money.
It's a lot of money.
I think it started at 63 though, right?
Well, that's with interest.
With interest, that's debt service, excuse me, P&I. If that was the question, total debt service we have is $46 million at this point.
Okay.
So if you saved $6 million, right, it'd just be 40 million or 39 million in debt service, whatever those numbers come out to be.
Are there any more questions? Anyone from the gallery have any questions or comments on this item? So we are looking for a motion to authorize the chair to sign both contracts.
Yeah, let me be clear about ORC. It's not clear from my conversations with Ms. McGann, who's ORC's central attorney on this, that like Urban Futures, their payment will be made from, or can be made from the proceeds of the bond. I believe that that's the case, and I can certainly clarify that with her. We can vote to have that included as a term. They were amenable to clarifying items. She mentioned that during our discussion today.
Correct.
So my suggestion is that it be left open for that change, be executed subject to that change if that's indeed the direction the district wants to go, or at least have that option. And if the district doesn't care and wants to pay it directly, then there doesn't need to be a change.
Okay.
Urban Futures certainly will take their payment through the proceeds.
Well, both of them on the second page say that the payment is conditional upon the successful sale of the bonds or continued.
Right.
Also, what is the chance that we have to get insurance because it's such a large amount and we have to pay another $7,500 to them so if we have to obtain
If
insurance?
required, and I have no way of being able to tell you what that possibility is.
And I don't think anybody knows that at this point.
Right.
Excuse me.
Again, these are all really good questions. At the end of the day, if we do get the financing done, there's millions at stake. I think these prices I think they've given us due consideration, and I think in terms of what is in the best interest of the district.
They did say, or they said they thought if they charged on an hourly basis, it would be way beyond the $45,000 figure, and I don't doubt that.
Yeah.
You guys have seen what their hourly rates are,
Like 800 and something.
right? And so that's 50 some odd hours of work. It's
Yeah,
they're going to blow through that.
Yeah.
So I don't question that.
No, not at all.
So this is a necessary step to move forward with refinancing our bonds. You're going to need board approval on this.
That's absolutely correct.
Well, if anybody make a motion, I will.
Thank you. Please.
So have you made a motion?
Please
made
make
a
a
motion.
motion.
Then I'll second.
Okay, Director With has made a motion to approve both contracts and have the chair sign them. And Director Marshall's made a second.
Making the change, or
Yeah, what I would like to do is, so we have a motion on the table. Discussion quickly. What I'd like is for us to look at that $90,000 and, see how much we would pay with the interest attached to it over the 18 years, or whether we have it in our account that we can pay it as soon as we get we don't have to pay it out of the proceeds, or.
Well, I believe that Donald can clarify me. Urban Futures is definitely out of the proceeds.
Oh, they don't know, okay.
It is only, the only question mark is with ORC, if they
Okay.
would be out of the proceeds or if we would have to pay them out of our current account.
Right. So if you're asking, would they accept payment out of a district account as opposed to coming out of the bond proceeds, so you didn't have to pay the interest on it. I could talk to both parties about it. I think the theory here, the concept is that there's sort of an automatic payment, like a payment out of escrow, where
Okay,
they don't have to worry about it. But if
okay,
it got to that point and it was going to close, and you said, "Hey, let us cut you a check for $45,000," as opposed to putting it in the
Escrow.
you know, maybe I'm sure they'd be okay with that, but I think we need to check with them.
okay.
I have one more question. Is there anything in the contracts that covers if we miss the March 1st refinance window and we have to wait till October 1st, 2019? Will they continue to provide, the necessary services? Because obviously, if we miss that deadline, and we don't get the bonds refinanced, then they don't get paid, right?
They need new contracts at that point.
But I mean, we wouldn't be paying them?
No.
Because
No.
we missed that window.
No, that's right. So they would come back and there would be a new fee arrangement, and
Would it be more? Another $45,000?
Well, we
we
wouldn't
haven't
pay
paid
them
them
anything.
anything yet.
But I mean,
But the work
would they
should- the
go
work
up
should
to
be
90?
done.
But would they go up to 90,000? Would they increase their fee because they would have to do more review and more work?
Actually, most of
be
the work
less.
would be done.
Bulk of the
Yeah,
work
well,
is
you just
done.
missed it, and so you would probably deal with the items, if there were items, for whatever reason that you missed that date, those would be the items that you would maybe either have to correct or address. It's not like all this work is done. You have all the financial statements, you have all the projections, you have the list of customers, you have all these data points and information that are required. It could be even that the market wasn't the best market to do it in. I mean, there could be decision points all along the way.
Yeah, if we decide to wait to see if the interest rates go down, would we get penalized for that? Or, I mean, what if all of a sudden the interest rates skyrocket and we say, whoa, wait a minute, we want to wait 6 months and see
In other words, there's no advantage to refi.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What would happen?
With
Well,
the contracts?
it says that if they're not successful in refinancing, but we don't have the choice to say we don't want to refinance at this time, they would.
I think
If they're successful, then we have to go.
they would let you know, wouldn't they? If we got to a certain point where all of a sudden there was a real diminishing return on the refi.
Sure,
Yeah.
There's nothing that says you have to commit to
do it.
sign the papers when push comes to shove, because nobody knows what the rates are going to be, for example.
Right.
So if the rates come back and 2 months from now they've skyrocketed for some reason and you're saving $5, nothing in here says you have to go forward with it and pay them $45,000 each.
But whenever we did refinance it and they finalized it, then we'd have a new contract and we have to pay them whatever. I mean, it's like a realtor. I say, oh well, Ken, the interest rates are too high. I'm not going to buy now. And then 6 months later they drop, and I pick someone other than Ken as my realtor. He loses his commission. I mean, is there something in the contract that says that we're going to stay with them and follow? I mean,
The contracts say that you have to recontract with them if you miss
Okay.
the March
okay.
deadline.
Have an obligation to stick with it.
Let's not miss it.
And are we going to have all the financial? You started with the CPA firm and everything. Are we going to have the 5 years and everything that they might require to give to the people who are lending the money?
That is the goal. I mean, the CPA firm's working on those. We put requests into the city. We need information from them. There are other sources. So there's a lot of moving parts onto this. That should be very clear about that.
Yeah. So if our CPAs don't come forward with the information that these guys need, perhaps they don't want to certify them, and it's required to certify them. Then are we at fault? Are these guys know that there's a lot of moving parts and there's a lot of unknowns?
Sure. So that, to address that, we've had a number of calls that are conference calls that include ORIC, Urban Futures, our CPA, Donald, and myself. So we are in communications both by email and phone, regularly tracking our progress and where we are. So it's a concerted effort and everybody understands. I mean, it's in everybody's best interest to get this done, and I think everybody's committed to doing that.
Yeah.
So, can't guarantee anything, but clearly, I would tell you everybody understands the timelines, understands what's at stake, and we're working to get this done at a timely basis.
In support of what Julie said, I just realized, November is around the corner and we got elections. So other than, some crazy thing happening, there's a possibility that things could change. But from what you're telling me, that nothing's if it doesn't close, they don't get paid. And so.
And we stay with them for the next
That's
go
what
round.
Donald said.
If you arbitrarily terminate, the contract a month from now, just because you've decided to change your mind and there's not been some reason for it, they could, I guess, come back and say, well, hey, we put in all this work, all these hours. The idea was that we're going to move through this process, but if the finances don't come back right, the rates is off, that's not going to be a reason why you have to pay them. They're not entitled to compensation unless you close.
Just a reminder, we are working with the city on this too, so we're both kind of dependent on each other, both doing our parts because we have the goal is together.
Yeah, one of us just can't do it.
Right.
Yeah, right. We both have to get to the
We
finish
can't
line
just
at the
pull
same
out
time.
of
Yeah,
I mean, we have a lot of people depending on us to do this.
Right.
So.
Yep.
So we have a motion and a second on the table. Are you guys ready to vote?
Sure.
Yes? Okay.
And the motion, thank you. So we're all set on the terms. We're going to talk to Oric about if
Right.
it comes that right. That's the one
I'm
thing.
sure they
Okay.
will. Okay. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Next item on the agenda is item number 4, discussion of possible action regarding the selection of an audit firm.
Sure. So we discussed a number of times about the district's need of the audit. At one time, we anticipated there might even be a need for the audits to do this bond refinancing. It's been determined that compilations will accomplish the goal that we just talked about, the bond refinancing. So, I think it's best that the district still look at getting audits done for at least the 5 years in question, 2014 through 2018. However, there isn't the time imperative that there was initially. So as a result, we had a set of quotes from folks to have these financials audited by the end of December. That pressure is off. Went back out, had 3 audit firms provide quotes. They're all remarkably close in dollars, and I'll be glad to read those and pass them out if you wish. But at the end of the day, we had a firm over in the Sacramento area that was advised to us that has a wonderful reputation dealing with districts, went to the city's auditors as well, and then went to a local audit firm. And the dollar amounts, as I said, are very close. I would make a recommendation to this board to use the city's auditors in this particular case, in large measure because of the operating agreement and the settlement agreement going forward, but there's also some back-looking items on this. They are familiar with these agreements. They understand what the city has in terms of documents, what we'll need for the audit, and so I would suggest that we go with them. I will pass their letter out. I have a 2-page letter from them, not a full engagement letter. The motion I would request is that if you approve this, we'll get the engagement letter for the chair to sign. There would be some normal boilerplating, but at the end of the day, for the 5 years, their total would be not to exceed $57,000. And it followed a pattern that all the firms, when they gave me pricing, the first year is always a few $1,000s more expensive because they're finding out what they need and what they have. And then the following years drop in price. And so for them, the first year would be $13,000. And then the following years, subsequent fiscal years would be $11,000. And this is a not to exceed. If they don't spend the money, even if they don't spend the time, they're not going to charge us. So I think I have a range just from an email from a local firm. They're a range between $8,000 and $12,000, and then the firm over in Sacramento, I think was $13,500 for the initial year, and then $11,500 after. So the pricing sort of was remarkably close. I just think the city auditors for a whole
And this is
variety
the
of
one doing
reasons.
the city then?
This is the ones doing the city. They obviously went through a very rigorous RFP process, so they've been sort of vetted that way. The city kind of
How
did.
many years has the city used them?
I think this is their third year. I don't know. Sean, do you know?
I don't.
No. I think I'm going to say it's their third year.
And do they
For-
guarantee certifying the
You
audits?
can't guarantee. They do the audit, and then they'll either give you one without an opinion or a qualified opinion. But they can't guarantee the outcome of what the audit would be. They just guarantee that they will perform an audit according to generally accepted accounting principles. And
When it's qualified, it's because they don't have documentation to support.
or they have an
something in
issue
it.
that they can't.
Yeah, they have an issue that they can't zero
Resolve.
out or something, so it's not really,
And they'll give us those issues if they can't certify them, they tell us.
Oh, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, they want you to know.
yeah.
It's in everybody's best interest to get that stuff taken care of. And
So that in the
And deal with
future, we can make sure that we have that documentation.
if that's what the issue is, right, that's what the issue is.
So is there a law that requires us to have the audited financials annually?
It's a statutory requirement the district has audited statements.
So,
And if you want to do billing, so we're looking in a rear view mirror here. We're going back. Sometime in January or February, we should select a firm to prepare our financials and a firm to do our audits for the next fiscal year out. This will be, and we can wait till I have that conversation to see how all of this goes. But yeah, to your point, and if you want to do billing and collections, at some point in the future, you're going to really need to have audited statements. There's no doubt about that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And other things too, a credit
Yeah.
card, qualifying for insurance through CSDA. Without audits, it's.
So I'm curious as to how the board went so long without audits, how they could conduct business and do everything they had to do without any audits since 2009. I don't understand.
Either do I.
Oh, okay.
I mean, I don't know. A decision was made.
I think we tried to do audits twice.
I believe that's correct from what I've seen.
We tried, couldn't get them done. I don't know why. They
Right.
just couldn't get done. I don't know, Donald, if you have any more insight on that than I do. 'Cause
I don't.
I was here, but not in charge.
No, the district, has filed their annual statement with the state, and maybe that has kept things moving along. But the district is clearly out of compliance.
Yeah.
And going forward, if you're going to do all the things or if you want the district to do all the things that you've contemplated in this operating agreement, having audited financial statements and being both compliant with statutory requirements and just good prudent. If I was a board member, I would really want audited statements. I mean, as fiduciaries, I would think
So
you would really want them, but that's your decision.
we hired another firm, and we're paying a lot of money to another firm to put together our financials for the
Auditors.
To be audited.
To be audited. Okay, so the one step is to put it together, the next step is to audit what they put together.
CPA firms can assemble and prepare financial statements, and they can give you reviewed statements, and they can give you all the way up through compilations, which have footnotes. But they cannot, because of a lot of events that have happened in the past, audit their own work. So you cannot prepare financials and then audit it. The city has an accounting staff, for instance, so they prepare the financials for audit. The district does not have an accounting staff. And plus they're pulling all of these from the city. So, but you can't do both. You can't prepare the financials and audit your own work. You can see where that conflict can be pretty self-serving and could be a real problem. So that's the case.
And just to throw some light on that too, I mean, for a long time, we didn't have our own account. And so 100% of the district money was at the city level. So we really, the only thing there was to audit was what the city had, and the city was doing an audit. So we would have to hire an auditor, or they would go to the city, and 100% of the audit would depend on what was available through the city. So it wasn't until a couple years ago that we started using the county to hold our
funds.
Yeah. So it was just a completely different process.
So I would be interested when all this is over to keep an accounting of how much the refinance cost in total in legal fees and auditing and everything that was required.
You'll have an accounting for all of that because you'll have disbursements to those folks, or either through the escrow on proceeds.
But I would like a summary kept.
Sure.
You know.
And then you can decide on these preparation of financial statements that you needed to have audits, regardless if you did the refinancing, how you want to attribute that cost. But those dollars are available and very easily summarized in any format that you would like.
Great.
On our budget, did we have a separate line for bond money we were spending for bond versus money we were spending just for audits, or I don't remember if we separated those.
So as I understood it when I put the budget together for the board's approval, that the bond fees that we just talked about earlier on for the urban and for ORIC were going to come out of the proceeds. So there was not a line item in there. There was detail supporting some of that. There was money put in for some other legal fees relating to bonds.
Okay.
And there was a little line item put in because we had the amount of the contract with CLA. Again, now, so the money's in the budget. Again, how you want to look at these financials that are being prepared for 5 years. Are they all attributable to bonds? Or are they attributable to sort of meeting the obligations the district has to audit the statements? You know, you can parse that out, but there is money in the budget for those items, yes. Except for, as I said, for the two that we just talked about, because it was assumed they were going to come out of proceeds at the time the budget was put together.
Right. Does anyone from the gallery wish to comment or have on this item? No? Okay. Any more questions by the board?
I'd like to make a motion to hire a DLF to perform our audit once our books are finished.
Okay, we have a motion by Vice Chair.
I second it.
And a second by Director Bockham. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Nay. So that was a motion for the chair to send the engagement letter.
Right, I will have them prepare an engagement letter based on the summary that they gave us here in the sheet.
Okay. And item number 5 is adjournment, and we are adjourned at 6:40. Thank you.
So Sean,